Hello, global gardeners, scientists, welcome back. We are so glad to have you here. My name is Miss Kalie, and you'll be seeing more of me throughout these next weeks. Okay, so today I've called you here because we are on the hunt for the world's source of energy. Meaning we are looking, where do we get energy? Where do plants get energy to grow? Where do I get energy to think and run around? Where do dogs get energy to run in circles? Where do cows get energy to get big and fat? Where does my energy go when I feel tired at the end of the day? All these questions we're going to figure out by the end of today's class. So the first question I want to ask us today is, when do you feel the most energized? Or when do you feel like you have enough energy to run around? Go ahead and pause this video and either think about it, talk about it, or write down your answer. As for me, I feel the most energized after I've eaten food. Maybe you guys can relate with me, but sometimes when I haven't eaten in a while, either I miss lunch or dinner just feels like a long ways away, I start to get kind of angry feeling. And I get sad and I get tired. But then as soon as I've eaten food, I have energy again. I can run around and I feel happy. Does that happen to you guys? So the key in energy is that we get energy from what we eat. All right, let's think about it. Today, I had eggs and toast for breakfast. All right, eggs and toast have energy. Okay, Miss Kalie, sounds good. End of story, right? But no, we need to follow the trail and find out, where does the chicken get energy to lay an egg? All right, well, think about it. So the chicken eats some wheat. Wheat would be like little pieces of seed. It comes from plants. Sometimes chickens eat vegetables, so kale. All right, so chickens get their energy from what they eat, which is plants. And now I'm thinking, where do plants get their energy? What do plants eat? Well, plants use the sun to turn it into energy in their own bodies. Plants can make their own energy from the sunshine. Did you hear me right? Plants make their own energy from the sunshine. So, plants get energy from sun, which means when chickens eat plants, they're eating sun energy. Which means when I eat the chicken egg that came from the chicken, I'm eating, wait for it, sun energy. That's pretty cool. Okay. But I also ate toast for breakfast. Where does toast get its energy? Well, toast is made from wheat or grains, which are, guess what? They're plants. And we already figured it out, but where do plants get their energy? Plants make their own energy through photosynthesis from the sun. So, plants get their energy from the sun. Plants turn into toast. Still has sun energy, and when I eat toast, I am eating, guess what? Sun energy. So, in conclusion, what I'm hearing from this story is that the food I eat gives me energy from the sun. So, my energy comes from the sunshine. That's pretty crazy. Let's try it again. Let's try it with a lion, maybe. Something different. Something not even from Oklahoma. Okay, so a lion. What do lions eat? Well, lions eat gazelle, other animals, deer, I don't know, monkeys. Alright, so a lion gets energy from the deer he eats. Well, where does the gazelle get his energy from? Well, gazelle and deer, they get their energy from the grass that they eat. And where does grass get its energy? From the sun. So the sun gives energy to the grass, which gives energy to the gazelle, which gives energy to the lion when the lion eats that gazelle. That's pretty crazy. So far we've found out that the lion gets energy from the sun and Miss Kalie gets energy from the sun. Pretty crazy. So when we trace energy from our food all the way back to the sun, we are really tracing the transfer of energy. Can you say that fancy word with me? Transfer of energy. So the sun transfers energy to the plants, which transfer energy to whatever eats the plants, Whatever eats the plants transfer energy to whatever eats the thing that eats the plants. So all along, energy is being transferred. And where did that energy come from? It came from the sun. Sorry guys, I had to move inside because my backyard mosquitoes were sucking all of my energy. So let's start with the garden food web. Maybe we'll start with the sun this time. The sun is giving energy to the things that we plant. Let's say cabbage. The cabbage is giving energy to things that eat it. So 2 garden pests that I see a lot in the garden are caterpillars and rabbits. Now the caterpillar is giving energy to whoever eats him, or in this case it'd be small birds. So energy is transferred from the sun to the cabbage, from the cabbage to the caterpillar, and transferred again from the caterpillar to the bird. On the flip-flop, the rabbit is eaten by snakes and by hawks. But also, the hawks eat the snakes and the hawks eat small birds. Now, what eats the hawks? Well, from what I'm aware, there's not a ton of predators for the hawk, meaning not a lot of things are hunting and killing hawks. Rather, when a hawk dies though, its body is eaten by what's called decomposers. Does anyone know what a decomposer is? You could look at the picture for a hint. In this case, the decomposer is a millipede, but in many cases it could be a slug or a snail, it could be a mite, it could be an earthworm, it could be a fly. Decomposers are animals or bacteria or fungi, like mushrooms. Decomposers are organisms that eat dead plants or animals. Okay. If you're in an in-person class, go ahead in your table group or in partners. You're going to pause this video and explain to each other what is happening in this picture. Where is energy being transferred? What would happen if one of these animals were no longer in the food web? If you are watching this video from at home or from virtual learning, go ahead, pause this video and think about what is happening in this picture. You could write it down or describe it to someone else. Where is energy being transferred? Where does the energy come from? And what would happen if one of these animals disappeared from the food web? In our garden food web, all of the energy is coming from the sun. The sun gives energy to the cabbage transfers energy to the garden pests that eat it. The energy is again transferred to whoever eats the garden pests, and so on. And finally, we get to the decomposers that eat the hawk, and the hawk is transferring energy to the decomposers when they eat him. Okay, but what would happen if we took out one of these animals from the food web? Say we remove the caterpillars. Pretend in this garden there's no caterpillars at all. What would happen to the small birds? Well, they don't have anything to eat anymore, so they're gone. What would happen to the hawk who eats the small birds? Well, thankfully for the hawk, he still can eat snakes and rabbits, so the hawk is fine. And so is the millipede, because there's still hawks to eat. But what would happen if we took away the small bird from this equation? Go ahead and pause this video and think about what is going to happen to the food web if we take away the small birds. Okay, so we took away the small bird. There's an X over the bird. Now look what happens to the caterpillars. Suddenly there's a ton of caterpillars because no one is eating them anymore. What do you think would happen to the cabbage if the garden was suddenly overrun by caterpillars? There would be no more cabbage left. The caterpillars would eat all of the cabbage. But if there's no more cabbage, what are the rabbits going to eat? So soon there's no more rabbits. If there's no more rabbits, what is the snake going to eat? And soon there's no more snakes. But if there's no more snakes and there's no more rabbits, what are the hawks going to eat? Soon there's no more hawks. And after a long time, if there's no other food to eat, our decomposers won't have anything to eat either. And our caterpillars are eventually going to die too because there's no more cabbage to eat. So, food webs are generally very well balanced, and we don't see this kind of thing happening in the garden. But sometimes things like this happen. Can you think of any times when the food web becomes unbalanced? See if you can think of an example. If you're in a classroom, go ahead and pause the video and let's share examples among the class. You can raise your hand to share. Some examples of an unbalanced food web could be, for example, when we overfish a pond. If you fish too much, suddenly there's no more fish left, and because there's no more fish, suddenly there's a ton of bugs because there's nothing left to eat the bugs. What other examples did you come up with? So your challenge today is to pause this video and you're going to draw out all the things you've eaten today. Then I want you to use those foods and trace out the energy transfer that happened all the way back to the sun. So today you're going to be scientists and you're on a hunt to find out how many steps did the energy have to take from the sun to your food to food to food to finally reach you when you ate it today. So my food web, for example, would have been the toast and the eggs that I ate for breakfast, which we followed it down to the sun before. It's really important to be mindful of where we get our energy and how many steps our energy has to travel before it reaches us, because the more steps energy travels means the less amount of energy that is left for you at the very end, which is why sometimes we have to eat a lot of food to get a little bit of energy. Go ahead, pause this video, draw out what foods you ate today, and then draw a food web showing the energy transfer all the way back to the sun.